My wife and mother-in-law locked me in a sweltering room after they found out I was a millionaire and forced me to transfer everything. For 3 days, I refused, weakening by the hour, until I found a hidden phone and made one call that destroyed them. I woke up on the storage room floor at 3:47 a.m. on what I'd later learn was day 3, and I genuinely thought I was going to die in there. The heat was the worst part. June in Houston is brutal anywhere, but in a windowless 8x10 storage room with no ventilation, it's a slow-cooking oven. My shirt had been soaked through for so long, it had dried and soaked through again. My tongue felt like sandpaper. When I tried to swallow, nothing happened. The papers were still scattered around me. The transfer documents they'd been sliding under the door every few hours, like demonic room service. Transfer of funds agreement, the header read. $8,400,000. My entire inheritance from selling my father's software company. They wanted every cent, and they were willing to let me die for it. David? Lisa's voice came through the door, artificially sweet. Baby, are you ready to be reasonable? Just sign the papers and we'll get you out. Get you water. A nice cold shower. Doesn't that sound good? I tried to respond, but only managed a croak. He's being stubborn. That was Helen, my mother-in-law. Her voice had none of Lisa's fake sweetness, just pure venom. Let him cook another few hours. He'll sign. I heard their footsteps retreating down the hallway. My head fell back against the metal shelving unit behind me, and I tried to remember how the hell I'd ended up here. It started 3 days ago. Thursday, June 13th, 2024. I'd been married to Lisa for 2 years. Together for 4 before that. I was 33. She was 31. We'd met at a coffee shop in Rice Village, one of those meet cutes that felt like destiny. She'd grabbed my oat milk latte by mistake. I'd grabbed her vanilla cold brew. We'd both taken a sip at the same time and made identical, disgusted faces. We'd laughed, traded drinks, traded numbers. She was beautiful, funny, ambitious, a marketing manager at a mid-size firm downtown. I was a software engineer at a startup that was going nowhere fast. The first year was good, really good. We moved in together after 6 months, got engaged after 18, married at a small ceremony at her mother's country club. That's when things started to change. It was subtle at first, little comments. You really think that shirt goes with those pants? My friends' husbands make 6 figures. When are you going to take your career seriously? We need to think about our future, David. We can't live like broke college kids forever. Then her mother moved to Houston. Helen had been living in Dallas, far enough away that I'd only met her a handful of times before the wedding. She was recently divorced, for the 3rd time I later learned, and needed family support during this difficult transition. Translation, she was broke and needed somewhere to land. Lisa insisted Helen move in with us, just temporarily, she'd said, until she gets back on her feet. That was 14 months ago. Helen never left, and Lisa never asked her to. Instead, our apartment became Helen's domain. She redecorated, criticized my cooking, made passive-aggressive comments about how I didn't contribute enough to the household. I was contributing plenty. My salary, $87,000 a year, went straight into our joint account. Lisa managed the finances, gave me a weekly allowance of $200 for gas and lunch, said we needed to save aggressively for a house. I thought it was reasonable, responsible even. I didn't know she was draining our savings to pay for Helen's shopping sprees and spa days. I found out by accident in March. A credit card statement came to my work email instead of Lisa's. $14,000 at Neiman Marcus, $8,000 at a plastic surgery clinic, $3,500 at a resort in Cancun, all on our card, all while I was eating ramen for lunch to save money. When I confronted Lisa, she cried, said Helen had been depressed, said the shopping was retail therapy, said the surgery was medically necessary. A lie. It was Botox and fillers. Said I was being cruel and unsupportive. I backed down. Like an idiot, I backed down. But I also did something else. Something I didn't tell Lisa about. I started hiding money. Not from the joint account. I couldn't touch that without her noticing. But I had a separate account from before we were married. One that still got random deposits from freelance consulting work I'd done years ago. Small amounts. $200 here, $500 there. I stopped mentioning those deposits. Started letting them accumulate. And I did something else too. Something that would save my life 3 months later. I installed cameras, 4 of them, hidden in smoke detectors, wall clocks, a phone charger, throughout the apartment, living room, kitchen, master bedroom, Helen's room. I told myself it was just insurance, protection in case things got worse. I had no idea how much worse they'd get. Then came my father's death. Dad had built a small software company in the 90s. Nothing massive, but solid. B2B logistics management. Boring but profitable. He'd retired 5 years ago and left the company in the hands of a management team. When he died in April, sudden heart attack at 68, I inherited his shares. 51% ownership. The board immediately made an offer to buy me out. They didn't want an outsider with controlling interest, even if that outsider was the founder's son. Their offer, $8.4 million. I said yes, but I didn't tell Lisa. I know how that sounds. Your wife should know about an $8 million windfall, right? You should celebrate together, plan together, build a future together. Except I'd spent the past year watching Lisa and Helen bleed me dry, watching them live like queens while I lived like a broke grad student, listening to them call me a loser, a deadweight, someone who didn't didn't contribute enough, so I kept it quiet. I set up a separate account at a different bank, had all the documentation sent to my work address, told the lawyers to keep everything confidential. I also did one more thing. I called a family law attorney, just for a consultation, just to understand my options. Do you have a prenup? The lawyer had asked. Yes, I'd said. Lisa had insisted on it, actually. Her idea, not mine. She'd had me sign it a week before the wedding, said her mother insisted, because you never know what could happen. At the time, I'd thought it was pessimistic but harmless. Good, the attorney said. And this inheritance, it came after the marriage? Yes. In Texas, that's separate property, not community property. Even without a prenup, she wouldn't have a claim to it. With a prenup that presumably protects premarital and inherited assets, she definitely doesn't. I'd thanked him and left, relieved, protected, but I still didn't tell Lisa about the money. Some instinct, some deep animal survival instinct, told me to wait, to see what would happen. 3 weeks later, that instinct saved my life. Thursday, June 13th, 6:42 p.m. I came home from work to find Lisa and Helen sitting at the kitchen table with papers spread out in front of them. Bank statements, legal documents, my bank statements, from the account I'd opened for the inheritance. My stomach dropped. What's this? Lisa asked. Her voice was very calm. Too calm. Where did you get those? I found them in your car, in the glove compartment. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. $8 million, David? And you didn't think to mention it? My mind raced. I had been careful. So careful. I never brought documents home, never left my laptop unlocked. How the hell? Then I remembered. Yesterday, I'd printed something at work, a summary statement the bank had requested I review. I'd meant to shred it at the office, but had gotten pulled into a meeting. Tossed it in my car to deal with later. Stupid. So fucking stupid. I was going to tell you, I said carefully. When? Helen stood up. Her face was flushed, her voice shrill. When were you planning to tell your wife you were a millionaire? While she's been struggling to pay bills? While we've been living paycheck to paycheck? We haven't been struggling. Don't lie! Helen screamed. We've had to sacrifice everything while you've been sitting on a fortune. Sacrifice. Right. The woman who'd spent $14,000 at Neiman Marcus was talking about sacrifice. That money is mine, I said quietly. It's inheritance from my father. You're married. Lisa's calm had evaporated. What's yours is mine. That's how marriage works. Not in Texas. Not with inheritance. Not with the prenup you made me sign. Her face changed. Something flickered behind her eyes. Surprise. Then calculation. Then rage. That prenup was for your protection, she said. To protect your pathetic little savings account. Not millions of dollars. It protects all premarital and inherited assets. Your lawyer wrote it. You should have read it more carefully. Helen moved closer. There was something predatory in her posture. You're going to share that money. We're family. I'll think about it. You'll think about it? Lisa's voice went dangerously soft. David, you're going to transfer half that money into our joint account. Today. Right now. No, I'm not. Yes, you are. Lisa, this is my inheritance. My father's life's work. I'm not just handing it over. We've supported you for 2 years, she shrieked. Fed you, given you a place to live, and this is how you repay us? I've been paying all the bills. Helen's hand cracked across my face. Hard. I stumbled back, more from shock than force. My cheek burned. You ungrateful little shit, Helen hissed. After everything we've done for you, after we let you into this family, and you're hiding millions from us? Get away from me. I moved toward the door. Lisa grabbed my arm. You're not leaving until we settle this. Let go of me. No. I yanked my arm free. I'm going to a hotel. We'll talk about this when everyone's calmer. I made it 3 steps toward the door before Helen grabbed the heavy crystal vase from the side table and swung it at my head. I saw it coming and ducked, but not fast enough. It caught me across the temple. The world tilted. White stars exploded across my vision. I felt hands on me. Multiple hands, pulling, dragging. I tried to fight, but my body wasn't responding right. Everything felt disconnected. Slow. Get him in the storage room, Lisa's voice, distant and echoey. He's too heavy. Help me. They dragged me down the hallway. My feet scraped against the floor. I tried to push them off, but my arms felt like they were made of lead. The storage room door opened. They shoved me inside. I landed hard on the concrete floor, my shoulder taking the impact. You're staying in here until you sign the transfer papers, Lisa said from the doorway. Her silhouette was backlit by the hallway light. She looked like something from a nightmare. This is insane. I tried to stand, but the room spun. You have a choice. Sign the papers and transfer the money, or stay in there until you change your mind. The door slammed shut. I heard the deadbolt slide into place. The lock that I'd installed myself 6 months ago on the outside of the door, because we'd been keeping expensive photography equipment in there, and Lisa was worried about theft. The lock that now made this room a perfect prison. The first 6 hours were the worst psychologically. The room was about 8 by 10 feet, concrete floor, metal shelving units along 2 walls, a few boxes of Christmas decorations, and old camping gear. No windows, no ventilation except a small gap under the door. One bare light bulb in the ceiling, controlled by a switch outside. They'd turned off the light. I sat in total darkness, my head throbbing where the vase had hit me, trying to process what had just happened. My wife had locked me in a storage room. My wife and her mother had assaulted me, imprisoned me, and were trying to extort $8 million from me. This couldn't be real. This couldn't be happening. I pounded on the door. Lisa, let me out! We can talk about this. No response. Lisa! Nothing. I kept pounding until my hands were sore, screaming until my throat was raw. They didn't come. Around midnight, I heard footsteps. The slot at the bottom of the door, the gap that was maybe 2 inches high, suddenly brightened as they turned on the hallway light. Papers slid under the door. Sign these, Helen's voice said. Transfer the money, then we'll let you out. I picked up the papers in the dark, felt the shapes and weight of them. Legal documents, multiple pages. I'm not signing anything, I yelled. Then you're staying in there. You can't keep me locked in here. This is illegal. This is kidnapping. No one knows you're here, Helen said calmly. I called your office and said you had a family emergency. You'll be out for a few days. And Lisa called your friends and said you went on a fishing trip. By the time anyone wonders where you are, you'll have signed the papers. The footsteps retreated. I was alone in the dark again. Day 2 was when the heat started. Houston in June is brutal. Temperatures regularly hit 95-100 degrees. Our apartment had central AC, but the storage room was on an exterior wall, poorly insulated, and the AC vent had been blocked off years ago to save energy. By 10 a.m., the room felt like an oven. By noon, I'd stripped down to my boxers and was still drenched in sweat. By 2 p.m., I was struggling to think clearly. They'd given me water, one 16-ounce bottle that they'd slid under the door around 8 a.m. I'd rationed it carefully, taking tiny sips. By 3 p.m., it was gone. My mouth felt like it was full of cotton. My lips were cracked. My head pounded with a dehydration headache that made the vase injury feel like a love tap by comparison. Papers slid under the door again at 4 p.m. Just sign, David, Lisa said. Her voice was softer now, almost kind. I know you're miserable in there. I know you're hot and thirsty. This can all end. Just sign the papers. We'll let you out. We'll get you water, a cold shower, some food. We can all be happy. With my money, I croaked. Our money, Helen screamed from farther down the hall. You're married. What's yours is hers. That's the law. It wasn't the law. Not in Texas. Not with inheritance. Not with our prenup. But I didn't waste my breath arguing. I'm not signing, I said. Then you're not eating, Lisa replied. We'll check on you tomorrow. Tomorrow. God help me. That night was endless. The heat didn't dissipate when the sun went down. The walls and concrete floor had absorbed the day's warmth and radiated it back like a furnace. I lay on the floor in the dark, rationing my movements to conserve energy. My heart was beating too fast, probably from dehydration. My thoughts kept fragmenting, losing their thread. I thought about my father, wondered what he'd think of all this. He'd never liked Lisa, I realized. He'd been polite, but there was always a distance there, a wariness. She's ambitious, he'd said once, after meeting her for the 3rd time. That's not bad, but make sure she's ambitious for the right reasons. I'd thought he meant career ambition. Now I understood he'd meant something else entirely. Around 2 a.m., I heard them talking in the hallway, not trying to be quiet. How long do we keep him in there? That was Helen. Until he signs, Lisa's voice. And if he doesn't, he will. He's already weakening. Another day, maybe 2. Then he'll break. And after? After he signs? A pause. Then Lisa said something that made my blood run cold. We'll figure that out when we get there. But David has a life insurance policy. $500,000. If something unfortunate happened. Like what? An accident. People have accidents all the time. Heat stroke maybe. In this weather. Tragic, but not suspicious. They were talking about killing me. My wife was discussing how to murder me for my money. I wanted to vomit, but my body was too dehydrated to produce anything. Day 3. I woke up on the floor. Had I passed out or just fallen asleep? And knew I was in real trouble. My tongue was swollen. My lips were bleeding where they'd cracked. When I tried to sit up, the room spun so violently I had to lie back down. I was dying. Slowly, but definitely dying. Severe dehydration takes 3 to 5 days to kill you. I was on day 3. My body was starting to shut down. Papers slid under the door around noon. The routine was so established now it felt almost normal. Last chance, David, Lisa said. Sign or we're leaving you in there. Forever. I tried to respond, but only managed a wheeze. He's faking, Helen said. He's fine. Let him suffer another day. Their footsteps retreated. I lay there, staring at nothing, thinking about nothing. My mind felt fuzzy, disconnected. That's when I felt it. I'd been leaning against the metal shelving unit, using it for back support. But as I shifted position, my hand brushed something small and hard, wedged behind the bottom shelf. I pulled it out. A phone. My old iPhone 8, the one I'd hidden 6 months ago. I'd stashed burner phones in 3 places around the apartment when Lisa's behavior started getting strange. When money started disappearing from our joint account. When I'd found her and Helen whispering in corners, going silent whenever I entered the room. I'd hidden one in the garage, inside a box of old car parts. One in the back of the hall closet, tucked into a boot. And one here, in the storage room, behind the shelving unit, just in case. My hands shook as I powered it on. The screen glowed in the darkness like salvation. 1 bar of battery, 12%. I unlocked it. No service. I crawled across the floor. The movement made my head swim and my vision blur. To the corner farthest from the door. Held the phone up. 2 bars appeared. Weak, but there. I dialed 911. 911, what's your emergency? I'm being held against my will, I whispered. My voice was barely functional. My wife and her mother locked me in a storage room. They're trying to force me to sign financial documents. I need help. Sir, can you speak up? I'm having trouble hearing you. I repeated it, forcing more air through my my damaged throat. Gave her my address, 2847 Kirby Drive, apartment 3B. Officers are on their way. Can you stay on the line? Battery's dying. Have to make another call. I hung up and immediately dialed my lawyer, Eric Rothstein, the family law attorney I'd consulted 3 months ago. He'd given me his cell number and said, if things get bad, call me. Anytime. Things were bad. David, he answered on the second ring. What's wrong? Get the recordings, I croaked. All of them. Send them to the police. What? Slow down? The hidden cameras. 6 months of footage. Lisa and Helen planning this. Plotting to get my money. Talking about making my death look like an accident. Send everything to HPD now. Jesus Christ, where are you? Locked in my storage room. Been here 3 days. They're trying to force me to sign transfer papers. Police are coming. I need the recordings as evidence. Already pulling them up. David, hang on. Help is coming. The battery meter dropped to 5%. Call is ending. Battery dying. Please. I've got it. The recordings are uploading to a secure server and I'm sending links to HPD right now. You're going to be okay. The phone died. I lay back on the floor, the dead phone still clutched in my hand, and waited. I heard the sirens at 3:47 p.m. Faint at first, then louder. Multiple vehicles. Then I heard Lisa panicking in the living room. Oh my God. Oh my God. What do we do? Stay calm. Helen's voice, trying to sound authoritative but with a manic edge. We say he locked himself in. We've been trying to get him out, but he won't let us. They're going to ask questions, so we answer them. We're the victims here. He's the one hiding money. We have rights. Heavy pounding on the front door. Houston police, open up. Coming. Lisa's voice went high and fake sweet, the tone she used with customer service people and her boss. I'm coming. The door opened. Ma'am, we received a 911 call about someone being held against their will at this address. That's ridiculous. Lisa's performance was in full swing. My husband, he's just upset about a family disagreement. He locked himself in our storage room. We've been trying to talk to him, trying to get him to come out, but he's being irrational. Where is the storage room? Down the hall, but footsteps. Multiple officers. Coming closer. Ma'am, why is the deadbolt on the outside of the door? Silence. And why are there papers slid underneath? Financial documents? We were just, he wanted to, it's complicated. Step aside. We're opening this door. You can't just, ma'am, step aside, or I'll place you under arrest for obstruction. The deadbolt clicked. The door swung open. Light flooded in. I squinted against it, raising one hand weakly to shield my eyes. 2 officers filled the doorway. A woman, maybe 40, with her hand on her weapon. A younger guy, mid-20s, whose expression went from cautious to horrified in half a second. Jesus Christ, the younger one breathed. Martinez, get the paramedics in here now. The female officer, Martinez apparently, knelt beside me. Sir, can you hear me? Can you tell me your name? David, I croaked. David Stanton. Locked. 3 days. Jesus. Okay, David, help is coming. Just stay still. More footsteps pounding down the hall. Paramedics with a stretcher, a tackle box of medical supplies, urgent professional voices. Severe dehydration, possible heat stroke. BP is 92/58. Pulse thready. Get a line in him. Cool hands on my arm. The sharp sting of an IV needle. Blessed cold saline flowing into my veins. They lifted me onto the stretcher. As they carried me out, I saw Lisa and Helen standing in the living room, surrounded by 3 more officers. Lisa's face was white. Tears streamed down her cheeks. Honey, oh my God. Honey, I was so worried. She tried to move toward me. Martinez stepped between us. Ma'am, don't. That's my husband. I need to. Ma'am, you're under investigation for false imprisonment and attempted extortion. You need to stay right there. The color drained from Lisa's face. That's insane. This is a misunderstanding. We're married. This is just a disagreement about money. Is it? Martinez pulled out her phone. Because we just received video footage from Mr. Stanton's attorney, 6 months worth, from cameras hidden throughout this apartment. Helen made a choking sound. The footage includes audio of you two planning this scenario, discussing how to extort Mr. Stanton, and, Martinez's voice went hard, discussing how to make his death look like an accident once you got his money. That's not. We were joking. Lisa's voice cracked. We also have the transfer papers you've been forcing him to sign, the phone records showing you called his workplace to lie about his whereabouts, and testimony from Mr. Stanton himself about the assault that preceded his imprisonment. Helen suddenly bolted, made it 3 steps toward the door before the younger officer caught her arm. Ma'am, where do you think you're going? I want a lawyer. I'm not saying anything without a lawyer. That's your right. Helen Chen, you're under arrest for false imprisonment, assault, and conspiracy to commit extortion. The officer recited her Miranda rights while snapping handcuffs on her wrists. Helen screamed the whole time. Obscenities, threats. How dare they? This was illegal. She knew her rights. Martinez turned to Lisa. Lisa Stanton, you're also under arrest for false imprisonment, assault, and conspiracy to commit extortion. You have the right to remain silent. Wait, please, I can explain. He was hiding money from me. That's financial abuse. I'm the victim here. You locked your husband in a room for 3 days in 100-degree heat while trying to force him to sign over $8 million. The financial arrangements of your marriage are a civil matter. What you did is criminal. Turn around. They cuffed her. Lisa sobbed, not the manipulative crying I'd seen so many times. Real, ugly, terrified sobbing. The paramedics wheeled me toward the door. As we passed Lisa, she looked up at me, mascara streaming streaming down her face. David, please, tell them it was a mistake, that we just needed to talk. Please. I looked at her. This woman I'd loved, this woman I'd married, this woman who'd locked me in a room to die. You locked me in a room to die, I said quietly. For money. That's all you wanted. That's all I ever was to you. A piggy bank. That's not true. I love you. No, you don't. Because people who love each other don't let each other die of dehydration in a storage room. They just don't. The paramedics kept moving. Lisa's sobs followed me all the way out to the ambulance. At Memorial Hermann Hospital, they put me in a private room and hooked me up to multiple IV bags. Dr. Sarah Kaplan, an emergency medicine physician with 15 years experience according to the ID badge clipped to her scrubs, examined me thoroughly. You're severely dehydrated, she said. Your core temperature is 102.4. You are on the edge of heat stroke. Your kidney function is compromised. Your electrolytes are dangerously out of balance. Another 12 hours and you'd be looking at organ failure. How long until I'm okay? We'll keep you at least 24 hours. You need IV fluids, electrolyte replacement, and monitoring. You're lucky you got out when you did. I know. My phone, my actual phone, not the burner, had been recovered from my car by the police. They'd brought it to the hospital along with my wallet and keys. I had 73 missed calls, most from Lisa's number, some from Helen's, several from unknown numbers that were probably their friends or lawyers. I blocked them all. Eric Rothstein arrived at 7:15 p.m. with a laptop bag and a briefcase full of documents. You look like hell, he said, pulling up a chair. Feel like it too. Good news. The police have everything. All 6 months of video footage, audio of Lisa and Helen plotting, discussion of the accident they were planning, the assault caught on camera, everything. And the bad news? There's no bad news. This is as open and shut as cases get. They're being charged with false imprisonment in the first degree, aggravated assault, and conspiracy to commit theft by extortion. They're looking at serious prison time. How much? False imprisonment in the first degree can be 2 to 20 years. Aggravated assault is another 2 to 20. The extortion charge adds more time. Realistically, they're looking at 7 to 15 years. Each. 7 to 15 years. I should have felt satisfaction, vindication, justice. Instead, I just felt empty. I also took the liberty of filing divorce papers on your behalf, Eric continued, citing abandonment, assault, and fraud. With the prenup protecting your inheritance and separate property, Lisa's entitled to exactly nothing. She signed away all claims to your premarital and inherited assets. She'll get half of community property, which is basically just whatever was in your joint account, about $2,300. That's it? That's it. The house, cars, any debts, all community property gets split. But your $8 million? Untouchable. I laughed. It hurt my throat. She destroyed her life for money she never had any legal claim to. Greed makes people stupid, and desperate people make fatal mistakes. What about Helen? She's not your wife, so she gets nothing in the divorce. But she's facing the same criminal charges. She's also got 3 prior domestic disturbance calls on her record from previous marriages. The DA is going to crush her. Good. Eric opened his laptop. I need to show you something. The cameras caught more than just the imprisonment. Look at this footage from April 15th. He turned the screen toward me. Security footage from the camera hidden in the living room wall clock. Lisa and Helen sitting on the couch drinking wine, looking at something on Helen's phone. Eric unmuted the audio. $8 million from his dad's company, Lisa was saying. I saw the preliminary estate documents before David hid them. He thinks I don't know. So what do? Helen asked. We wait until the money transfers. Then we figure out how to get it. He'll never just give it to you. Then we'll have to take it. Lisa smiled. Cold, calculating. Or make sure there's no one left to dispute the transfer. My blood ran cold. This was 2 months before they'd found the bank statement. 2 months before I was locked in the storage room. They'd been planning this for months. There's more, Eric said, fast-forwarding. May 2nd, May 18th, June 3rd. Hours and hours of them plotting, discussing tactics, researching legal loopholes, Googling how to make heat stroke look natural. He showed me screenshot after screenshot. Browser history from Helen's laptop. Search terms like how to force someone to sign a document, false imprisonment charges Texas, how long does dehydration take to kill. They'd researched this, planned it, knew exactly what they were doing. The DA has everything, Eric said. They're building a case for attempted murder on top of the extortion charges. Attempted murder. My wife had tried to murder me. I need you to do something else, I said quietly. Name it. I want restraining orders against both of them. I don't want them anywhere near me. Not in person, not phone calls, not emails, nothing. Already drafted. I'll file them Monday morning. They'll be served while they're in jail. How long will they be in jail? Bail hearing is Monday. Given the severity of the charges and the flight risk, Helen's got no ties to Houston and Lisa might run. I'm guessing bail gets set high, maybe $100,000 each. They'll need to post 10%. Can they come up with $20,000? I thought about Lisa's spending habits, the drained savings account, Helen's 3 divorces and 0 assets. No, I said, they can't. Then they're staying in jail until trial, which could be 4 to 6 months out. 4 to 6 months. Minimum. Good, I said. They kept me in the hospital for 36 hours. By Saturday afternoon, my kidney function had improved and my electrolyte levels were back to normal. Dr. Kaplan discharged me with instructions to drink plenty of fluids, avoid exertion, and follow follow up with my primary care physician in a week. Eric drove me to a hotel, not back to the apartment. I never wanted to see that place again. I've already contacted a moving company, he said. They'll pack up your belongings tomorrow. Anything you want from the apartment, they'll bring to your new place. Anything you don't want, they'll put in storage. What about Lisa's stuff? Helen's stuff? Leave it. It's evidence until the trial's over. After that, someone else's problem. What about the lease? I'll handle it. You're a victim of a violent crime that occurred in that apartment. The landlord will let you out of the lease. If they don't, we'll make them. I spent Saturday night in a Marriott near the Galleria, drinking electrolyte water and watching mindless TV, trying not to think, trying not to feel, but the feelings came anyway. Betrayal, rage, disbelief. How had I been so blind? How had I missed the signs? Except I hadn't missed them. Not really. I'd seen the red flags, the financial manipulation, the controlling behavior, the way Lisa had isolated me from friends, made me doubt myself, turned every conversation into a criticism. I'd seen it all. I just hadn't wanted to believe it. Monday morning, Eric called with an update on the bail hearing. Bail was set at $150,000 each. Jesus. The judge considered them both flight risks. Lisa's got no family ties here except her mother, who's also in custody. Helen's got no ties at all. She's from Dallas originally, has no job, no property, and the evidence against them is overwhelming. The judge wasn't taking chances. Can they make bail? Not a chance. They'd need to post 15%, $22,500 each. I called their public defenders. Neither of them has any assets. No savings, no equity, nothing. Lisa maxed out all the credit cards. Helen's been living off Lisa for over a year, so they're staying in jail until trial, which is scheduled for November 18th, 5 months from now. 5 months in county jail, in matching orange jumpsuits, eating commissary food, sharing cells with actual criminals. I should have felt sorry for them. I didn't. One more thing, Eric said. Lisa's been trying to call you from jail 27 times yesterday. The jail blocks most outgoing calls unless you accept the charges. You haven't, obviously. But she's also been writing letters. I don't want to read them. You don't have to. I'm keeping them as evidence. But she's persistent, saying she's sorry, that she made a mistake, that you're the love of her life, that she'll do anything to make it right. She can start by pleading guilty. Funny you should mention that. The DA offered a plea deal. 15 years, eligible for parole after 7. Both of them. They rejected it. What? They think they can win at trial, or at least get a better deal. Their lawyers are arguing that this was a domestic dispute that got out of hand, that there was no intent to seriously harm you, that the recordings are taken out of context. I was locked in a room for 3 days with no food or water while they discussed letting me die of heat stroke. I know. The jury will know too. Their defense is not strong. The trial happened in November, just like scheduled. I sat in the courtroom every day for 2 weeks, watching the prosecution dismantle Lisa and Helen's defense piece by piece. The video evidence was damning. Months of footage showing them plotting. Audio of them discussing my accident. The Google searches for how to make heat stroke look natural. The transfer papers they'd drawn up. The bank records showing their financial desperation. The prosecution called expert witnesses. Dr. Kaplan testified about my medical condition when I arrived at the hospital, how close I'd been to organ failure. A forensics expert explained how the heat in that storage room could have killed me in another 12 to 24 hours. A psychologist discussed the trauma of false imprisonment and the manipulation tactics Lisa and Helen had used. They called Mrs. Chen, my next-door neighbor, who testified that she'd heard shouting from my apartment the night I was locked up, that she'd seen Helen coming and going with shopping bags despite claiming they had no money, that Lisa had told her I was out of town on business when she'd asked about me. They called my work supervisor, who testified that Helen had called Friday morning, claiming I had a family emergency and would be out all week, directly contradicting Lisa's story that I'd told them about a fishing trip, and they called me. I spent 4 hours on the stand, told the jury everything. The financial control, the manipulation, the cameras I'd hidden because I'd felt unsafe in my own home, finding the bank statement in my car, the assault, the imprisonment, the dehydration, and heat, the phone that saved my life. Lisa's attorney tried to paint me as paranoid, controlling, someone who'd hidden cameras to spy on his innocent wife. The prosecution showed the jury 6 months of footage. Let them see exactly what I'd been spying on. Let them hear Lisa and Helen's own words. The jury deliberated for 3 hours, guilty on all counts, both of them. Sentencing was 2 weeks later. Judge Patricia Hernandez, 63 years old, 30 years on the bench, known for being tough but fair, looked at Lisa and Helen with open disgust. The evidence in this case, she said, shows a level of premeditation and cruelty that is truly shocking. You didn't just imprison Mr. Stanton, you tortured him. You brought him to the brink of death, and you did it not out of passion or temporary anger, but out of cold, calculated greed. She sentenced Lisa to 18 years in prison. Helen got 20. Her prior record and the fact that she'd physically assaulted me first made her sentence longer. Lisa sobbed. Helen screamed. Their public defenders filed notice of appeal on the spot, but Eric said it wouldn't go anywhere. The evidence was too overwhelming, the trial too clean. They were going to prison for a long, long time. A year later, I sold my father's company shares that I'd kept in reserve. Another $3.2 million. Donated $1 million to domestic violence organizations in Texas. Put another $1 million in a trust for my future kids if I ever have any. Use the rest to buy a house in the Heights. Nothing huge. Just 3 bedrooms, a yard, a garage, space to breathe. I'm seeing a therapist twice a week. Dr. Jennifer Martinez, licensed clinical psychologist, 15 years specializing in trauma. She's helping me process everything. The betrayal, the fear, the anger. Some days are better than others. I don't date. Can't even imagine trusting someone enough to let them that close. Maybe someday, not today. Eric says Lisa keeps writing me letters from prison. I haven't read a single one. He keeps them in a file in his office, just in case. Evidence for the appeals process, he says. I hope I never have to see them.